Georgia sits in the center of the Caucasus region, which is at the geographic crossroads of Europe and Asia. The area has always been known as the land in between the Black and Caspian Sea, between Russia and the Middle East, between Europe and Asia, and between the East and the West. This makes defining where specifically that boundary lies within the Caucasus a difficult, yet extremely important task. This video will attempt to explain the main geography-based boundaries for the Europe-Asia border within the Caucasus. This is not to be confused with historical, cultural, and political boundaries, which frequently rely on religion, ethno-linguistic groups, or history. Georgia and the rest of the Caucasus lies on the Eurasian tectonic plate, meaning that the most obvious and straightforward place for a geographic boundary isn't even possible. This means that other geographic features must be used to determine where exactly that boundary lies, making any boundary fairly subjective. There are 5 primary geography-based boundaries between Europe and Asia in the Caucasus. The first 3 boundaries are watershed-based boundaries, while the last 2 are topography-based boundaries. The first boundary is the Kuma-Manich line, which follows the pathway of the Kuma-Manich Depression in Russia's North Caucasus. The depression is the remnants of an ancient river which used to link the Black and Caspian Seas. According to this boundary, everywhere north of this line is in Europe, and everywhere south is in Asia. The second boundary is based on river watersheds. This uses the Rioni, Coedoa, and Metkuari or Kura rivers as the geographic border. According to this boundary, the areas north of this line created by these 3 rivers are in Europe, and the areas to the south are in Asia. This makes Georgia and Azerbaijan transcontinental countries, and Zestaponi, which straddles the Coedoa River, and Rustavi, which is split by the Metkuari or Kura River, transcontinental cities. This boundary also makes Georgia's capital, Tbilisi, a transcontinental city. In Tbilisi, the large Soviet districts of Gluldani and Varakatili are in Europe, while the central districts of Sabartalo and Tatsiminda are in Asia. Furthermore, Georgia's primary institutions, such as the Parliament, Presidential Palace, and Supreme Court are all located in Asia, with the notable sites of Liberty Square, the Tbilisi Justice Palace, and Old Tbilisi, also located in Asia, while Marjanishvili Square and Tbilisi Sameba Cathedral are located in Europe. The third boundary is on the watersheds of the Black and Caspian Seas. According to this theory, areas in Georgia that are in the Black Sea's watershed are in Europe, while areas that are in the Caspian Sea's watershed are in Asia. This means that the regions of western Georgia, including the cities of Kutaisi and Batumi, are in Europe, while eastern Georgia, including Tbilisi, is in Asia. The fourth boundary follows the Lesser Caucasus Mountains, which is a long ridge that separates the Anatolian and Armenian plateaus from the Greater Caucasus Mountains. This mountain range follows the Meskheti and Treyaleti ranges in Georgia, and then continues on into Armenia and Azerbaijan. As such, areas to the south of these mountains are in Asia, and areas to the north are in Europe. This makes most of Georgia solidly in Europe, with the exception of Samtskhe-Javakheti and western Kuymo-Kartli. The fifth, final, and most widely accepted boundary for Europe and Asia in the Caucasus follows the Greater Caucasus Mountains. This means that most of Georgia and the entirety of Armenia and Azerbaijan are in Asia. Which boundary is considered to be correct matters, since answering where exactly the geographic border between these 2 areas helps determine where many of the world's most notable institutions, such as the EU, NATO, an Asian Development Bank, and the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, can legitimately work. Let's take NATO and the European Union for example. Both NATO and the EU state that they promote peace and democracy in Europe, but neither organization provides a concrete definition of where exactly Europe starts and stops along its eastern border. The EU at least attempts to have a definition by using an environmental survey to define the border between Europe and Asia and the Caucasus as being along the Kuma-Manich line. However, that same study then states that, being an environmental report, however, it focuses on environmentally significant geographical units, which may straddle the often artificial borders created by this definition, meaning that even the European Union can't come up with a border between Europe and Asia. Many institutions take advantage of this ambiguity between Europe and Asia. For example, The Georgian government is working towards eventual EU and NATO membership by playing its European card, while also receiving funding from the China-based Asian Development Bank. As you can see, the Caucasus is an extremely complex region which lies in the periphery of some of the world's greatest powers, and defining at least a geographic boundary in the region where Asia ends and Europe begins can help bring the region out of ambiguity. Until then, however, the countries and peoples of the Caucasus, Georgia and Georgians included, have begun to embrace a distinctively Eurasian identity that can only be found in such an amazingly diverse and complex place. For more information about Georgia, visit our website at www.visiting-georgia.com. Thanks for watching.